Hey there, tech enthusiast. Get ready for Tech Ties and Human Vibes, the podcast where technology in the AI era meets the human touch.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Tech Ties and Human Vibes. I am your host, Nancy Henriquez, and with me, of course, is Adam.
Hello.
First human. And a special guest that we have today. I am so excited to introduce. I met Alfredo Borodowski during our time together at the Purpose Company's expert school. And once we met, I knew he had to come on the show. So, Alfredo, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, and we'll take it from there.
Great. It is great to be here. I always love sharing ideas, learning from others, and maybe sharing something from my wisdom that may be of value. And I am an expert on positive psychology, the science of flourishing, and the part of psychology that studies what goes well in the mind, resilience, courage, flourishing, optimism, hope, motivation. And I help companies and organizations to achieve peak performance. And I get real pleasure when I go to a place and see people grow.
So, I've got a question for you. How do you help them get that peak performance?
Well, the first thing I can tell you, which will amaze you, is that we have studies done here in America that 70% of people do not know the strengths. Then there is an epidemic of strength blindness. And we know from positive psychology that you cannot align your values and objectives and achieve peak performance without knowing first your strengths. And to give you more amazing data that is going to shock people listening, not only that 70% are blind to the strengths, we know from studies that if you know your strengths, you have the capacity to flourish 9 times more just by knowing them, by applying them 18 times more, which means that 70% of people are operating 9 times below what they could, and if they would apply their strengths, 18 times below what they could.
That's a shocking number. How many people out there are just operating like just
Oh,
like
yeah.
a
That is
duck, just
very shocking.
going rowing underneath, like not knowing where to go or any of that, just rowing like a duck like crazy without any objective or understanding what their strengths are.
They live by default. Yeah, they live and operate by default. Clearly, they're using the strengths because those are the ones that you use more comfortably, with more energy and authenticity. But they do it by inertia, okay, not by intention. And the difference between inertia and intention is enormous. Then once you know them, you take that already is operating within you and you maximize it. That's why you have so many. The results are staggering because actually you don't have to learn anything new, guys. You
So wait,
already have it.
I want to go back to this stat. Did you say 70% of people are working at 9% capacity?
Well, they are, I tell you my top 5 strengths because I know them. I explored these. Then my top 5 are creativity, love of learning, curiosity, courage, and perseverance. Now, I always was creative, curious, and had love of learning. If you look at my life, I've been a great student with a lot of creativity. But once I learned Okay, I brought my strength from the unconscious to the surface. Then I began asking myself how I can maximize them and intentionally apply it every day to my activities. Okay, then this is like having a hammer and a screwdriver in your toolkit and not knowing when to use them and how to use them. You have them already, but you never open the toolbox to take a pick and the blessings you
Mm.
already have.
I want to dig into that so much. And the reason why is in our industry, a lot of the times the experts,
Go
and
for
I
it.
use quotations, experts, will say you have to get outside of your comfort zone. You have to learn a new skill. If you're not a salesperson, you have to become the salesperson. But what you're saying is, in actuality, your strengths may be in other ways, and you may be able to apply those strengths in other ways to accomplish maybe those same goals within your comfort zone, strengthening what is comfortable to you by making it conscious rather than trying to learn something new that is outside of what would be your genius. Is that what you're saying? Mhm.
Absolutely. I understand, Nancy, why people say what they say, because actually makes complete sense. Stretch yourself, learn something new. Okay. But we know that is absolutely the opposite. What positive psychology teaches us is to maximize what already works instead of wasting your time in developing what is not working. Now, there are cases, okay, if I am an accountant and I don't know how to count, then basically I cannot do the job. Okay, if I am an electrician and I don't know how to connect two cables, well, better learn. Okay, but beyond that kind of minimum that you need to know to do the job, the magic happens in maximizing what you're doing well. And efficiency reviews that companies have where the managers focus on what you're not doing well. I used to be in high school, and twice a year my parents will go to meet the teachers of your son or daughter. Okay, they went from teacher to teacher, professor to professor, getting a report about me. And I remember, I was in Argentina, 1970s. We're not so independent like high schoolers are today. Then I was there at home, waiting, and my parents came back, all nervous. And my parents came in. I was an excellent student, by the way. My parents came into the room and said, "You did great,
Mhm.
but you are weak
As we
in
tend to
math."
do in human nature. Yeah.
Then they immediately went to what I was not doing well. Yes. Okay. And then I went back to school the next
Mm.
day and I felt miserable and I began even failing more and more on math
Mm.
because I was already predisposed and predetermined for that. Then, and we bring that kind of model to work and management. And
Mm.
good management is about helping people achieve the greatest potential according to their strengths. In other words, and this is the phrase that I love. I live by this phrase. We need to move culture from fixing to nourishing.
Yes, 100%. That lights me up.
And we live in a culture of fixers because leaders are called usually to corporations where things are in crisis. Then they have this savior complex. If I don't save you, then why they brought me? And even when the crisis is over, we need to create a new one. Otherwise, can we justify the leadership? And managers do the same.
Mm.
If I cannot see what you're doing wrong, what justifies that I am above you?
So give me an example, like you gave the scenario there. And listen, we're all parents. Actually, I don't know, Alfredo, are you a parent?
Grandparent.
A grandparent. Okay, so we all have kids. in some sort of or way or another. But so your parents said that to you. You're not good in math. You need to work on this. How would that have been addressed better?
Okay, first of all, I don't have to be good at math. Okay, then we need to basically get over that everybody has to be good at everything. Okay, I was not meant or had never a desire to become an engineer. Now, look, I need to know basic math not to be cheated at
Right.
the grocery store. Okay, to put it simply. Okay, then every child, every person working needs to fulfill the basics, okay, of where they are. But once we fulfill the basics, which are very basic, then we need to concentrate in maximizing what the person loves, feel more authentic, and excels at. Then my parents could have said, "You did great on everything. Look, math is not your best. Okay, if you want, we help you with the tutor. Okay, to do better, but don't worry. Is it excellence? Excellent. Or maybe not even mention math and just monitor what I am doing, okay, and see if I just make it through math without needing the help and just let it be. Just let it be, okay? Okay, we need to let people be themselves, okay, and not be looking all the time
Yeah.
for the corrective measures. We are not
Yes.
fixing, nourishing.
Yeah.
But not in math. I'm with you there. That was also what stopped me. Uh, I can go into my high school grades if we want to, but oh, math was not my strong suit. I did take a course in the business of it was computer business, the class that I took in high school where I excelled. But math, give me math, and it was like, oh no, no way. So I'm with you on that.
Today, by the way, I'm attracted to math, which is interesting. And I think the part of it, Nancy and Adam, has to be that they let me be who I wanted to be.
Mm.
And once they let you be what you want to be, then you may undertake some things that are uncomfortable to you. That's the process.
So how did you get started in this field? Did you have a passion for people or businesses, or I
I
mean,
was
like,
a
how do you?
I was a rabbi,
you
okay, of a very prestigious congregation in Westchester. I've been a rabbi for 30 years. That was a congregation in Westchester where I had CEOs of big companies, Prime Media, MetLife. I had half of Wall Street and top senior partners of the law firms in New York. Then I was a rabbi to the rich and famous and powerful. And once I was talking with a major CEO of a company, Mort Meyerson.
Yeah.
You may know him in Dallas, Nancy, because the Opera House in Dallas is called the Mort Meyerson Opera House.
Huh.
Okay. And then this was like 25 years ago, I was having breakfast with Mort Meyerson. We just met each other. I had taught a class on the Talmud, rabbinic wisdom. And I having breakfast with him, and I mentioned, I am an expert on the Myers-Briggs, the personality type inventory, which I was. I was interested in that. And he said, I never met a rabbi who knows Myers-Briggs. A week later, I was in Dallas leading a workshop for one of his startup companies. And then I became a social worker. And as a social worker, I began doing clinical work on what psychologists and therapists do, which is trauma, depression, anxiety. until I discovered that in 1998, Martin Seligman, who was the president of the American Association of
Mm.
Psychologists, came with this idea: why don't we also study in psychology what it goes well? That's also point of the psyche,
Wow.
resilience, optimism, and a new school was created, studying the positive. It became a tremendous discipline. There are PhDs now on positive psychology. There are thousands of studies around the best psychology labs around the country. And I became interested in positive psychology, became certified, and began working on. And when I discovered my strengths and saw what they did for me, I said I had to go everywhere and give the people the gift of knowing the top 5 strengths of positive psychology.
Huh.
Okay, it is. I don't know. I get so upset that 70% of people do not know the top strengths they already have, and and then I move into the purpose company, and now I'm adding to which are they are expert on purpose, and now I'm adding to the positive
That is
another layer
powerful.
of positive plus purpose. I think that completes the picture.
Man, you've lived like 14 different lives.
Oh yes, before
Wow.
before that I was a lawyer in Argentina,
Oh, man.
and before that I have a PhD in philosophy. I was a philosophy professor at the university for many years. And so, many of these things I did at the same time. You know, I was a pulpit rabbi, and the Meyer bricks and the philosophy teaching I did at the same time. But all you see, all had to do with my top 5 strengths.
I love that. That is that is phenomenal for someone to 70% of people go without understanding that. So 30%, only 30% of people get there so far, right? You're working on changing that number, which is great. One at a time. Yeah. Yeah, that is true. You can only do so much, right? But when it comes to the positive psychology, and you and I have talked about this previously, so I want to let the audience in on how you are now applying positive psychology into an industry where and at a time where it is needed the most as we face what I keep calling and a lot of people are calling it the our
Mhm.
industrial revolution of today, which is with AI removing a lot of jobs when it comes to AI coming in, right? Or supplementing jobs, making things easier. There's so much technology coming in into all areas of life and business. How are you applying positive psychology to this, and why is it imperative to have that now more than ever?
Okay, first of all, it's not an industrial revolution, and that analogy is wrong. And I tell you why.
Yep. Hmm.
Every technology up to AI replaced human skills. What AI is doing is replacing human
Mm.
creativity, ingenuity, which are not skills, are the essence of who we are.
Yep.
Mm.
That is the one thing it cannot get to.
And we,
You're right.
and
Mm.
we, and we were, then it's crossing a red line. It's crossing from skills to humanity. Okay. Now, I am pro technology, by the way, and I think that AI is a blessing,
Mm.
and it's going to make us better if we do the right things and we approach it the right way. But still, at this moment, the threat, the anxiety, the depression has to do with not only that AI is going to take our jobs, but because it's infringing into what is to be human, is going to make us obsolete, irrelevant. Then we philosophically,
Mm.
spiritually, and technologically, we are dealing with a phenomenon that we didn't deal before, which is
Mm.
going to demand a new set of skills and strategies. Then we know from studies that as AI advances, there are going to be more layoffs. People are going to compete and try to prove themselves. There is also what is called survival remorse, which is the people who are not fired are, we know from studies and studies that they work
Mhm.
harder, but then they live with the idea, am I going to be next? Okay. And becomes an untenable position. Then the companies that are going to make it at the end of this process are the ones that today invest not only in technology, but what is called psychological capital. And psychological capital is made out of four components. First of all, every company should have workshops where each one of its people know the five top
Mm.
strengths. That's
Yep.
basic
100%.
because those strengths are irreplaceable by machines and systems.
Mm.
To be courageous, humble, appreciation of beauty, humor, okay, which are, leadership, which are there are 24 strengths of positive psychology, are not easily replaceable by technology. Then the first thing I tell companies, everybody has to know their top five strengths, honor, manage, reviews, everything has to be centered around those, emphasizing and reinforcing those the five top strengths. That's point one. And then psychological capital. Psychological capital is made of five different variables. One is self-reliance, means people have to have
Mm.
autonomy to make decisions, hope, optimism, and resilience. We know that by working on those four variables, companies are motivated, loyalty, less depression and anxiety, and they are going to get into the AI era thriving. Okay. But the investment has to be made now simultaneously.
Sometime yesterday. Yeah.
Okay. Then okay. Then we know that the ping pong table, the free dry cleaner, the cafeteria with free food, the free yoga classes are all great. I'm sure that the company cares about people wanting to have a good time and have the right intentions. But that's not the foundations of well-being.
Yeah.
The foundation of well-being are deeper and stronger working on those four variables. Through exercises, workshops, even the way the leader speaks with language. When I work with CEOs and executive and managers, we work a lot in which language to use and how to convey what is an optimistic and hopeful message. There are real strategies and words that need to be used. Okay, then there is a set. Today we have a science
Mhm.
around it and how to apply psychological capital to, because AI is coming, okay, and AI is coming. That's unavoidable. But the investment in the human part has to be simultaneous and parallel. And you know,
Mm.
the paradox is that as AI advances, humanity is going to become a luxury. Okay,
Yeah.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
going to become actually more scarce and more valuable. That's the paradox. Companies who understand that, they are ahead of the curve, knowing that the humanity, actually, at the end, the ones who talk to the people, when they talk to AI will talk for us, but the one who have people who talk for the company on those occasions,
Oof.
who are fully human and understand emotions, are going to make the difference between one company and the other.
I love that. So I have a theory that I my theory is that the next wave of leaders, especially going into the era of AI, have to come from the technology part. So my theory is that as AI changes the landscape of business, we see it happening already with enterprise level companies merging their IT and HR departments. So my theory is that as we move forward with AI at the forefront of the technology advancements, it will be up to IT leaders today to become the people leaders of tomorrow. What would you say to that theory that I have?
Well, look, I am not opposed to it. You know, it is obvious that IT people are going to be at the forefront of this change, okay,
The
and they're going
bridges,
to
I like
be
to say, yeah.
more and more empowered, and they're going to be the wise people of the company, okay. More and more people are going to be dependable upon them, okay. I have worked as a consultant with IT companies. And my experience is that in terms of personality type of the people who are attracted to especially those who
Yep,
write
fair.
systems, are a little
Fair.
bit in the non-emotional spectrum. Okay,
Very fair.
then then I would say that there is a great opportunity to work with them in developing the more emotional aspect, the more strength aspect, because they will be pushed to interact more with people, some of them at least. Okay, and yes, there is a merger. They are going to be
Mhm.
seen more as human resource people because AI is infringing into the human aspect. Then the human is going to become narrower, and the IT is going to become larger. Okay, and it's going to be more exposed.
Yeah.
Then I am personally, I had done work with IT people, and I am kind of excited to work with that. It's a big challenge to work with that population. But yes, you're right. The role of IT people is going to be redefined
Mm.
more into the human, more into the paradoxically more into the human, as AI takes more of those roles.
Love it. Love it. Adam, it looks like you have a question before I keep going, 'cause
I do. No, I do, but I've gotta go back a little bit. I'm just curious, like, when you go into a business, say a business of 25 people, you go in, where do you start? What does that look like? I mean, do you start with the leaders? Do you start with the layman? Like, what's the process?
I always start with the leaders. Okay, and leaders could be managers, VPs, executives. Then I want to hear the story. Okay, also, Adam, they usually bring me into the game. Then I had to talk with them first. I mean,
Yeah.
usually I get a call from them. But I am a diagnostic person. I work with I am I use science, as you know. It's positive psychology, it's a science. Then I usually give a team three instruments. I give them the Meyer bricks to tap into their personality styles. I give them the VIA, the values in action, to map their strengths. And I give them the purpose factor to map their purpose. Then I have it. I do a team diagnostics at three levels: personality, values and character, strength, and purpose. Then when I go into the group, I really have a very clear idea of what are the strengths, what are the blind spots. Eh, Clearly, I give them the freedom to express themselves, and it's all done by us. But I have a pretty good idea of who the group is. I am a believer in diagnostic instruments, and I use them all the time. My workshops are mostly games. We play. Okay, they're all interactive games.
That's
Is
very good, yeah.
and but what we do at the end, I always talk with the CEO or the manager to bring a couple of challenges they're working with at that time, and then we directly apply what we learn to a simulation, a case of something they're working in. And then there is an immediate application and solution, and a different solution, because we learn different methodology, different strengths to something that is pressing at that point. Then they see quick results, and then I write a strategy of sustainability for the team to keep working at the
Love that.
strengths and purpose, not to fade away throughout the year.
Hmm. What what industries do you tend to target?
Any
Any industry? What?
because everybody needs strengths and
Okay.
anybody needs purpose. It's really then I can I still working with synagogues.
Oh, okay.
I still work for not for profits, and I work with international corporations. And
That was going to be my next question. Do you do stuff primarily in the U.S. or Argentina or?
then it just happened to be that the country where I doing a lot of work is Chile.
Oh,
And
okay.
okay, there's a long story behind it, but it's not so interesting. But I work a lot in Chile. Now I'm expanding into Argentina, and Nancy, in Argentina, I'm expanding. This is very interesting. I can't tell you the name yet, but I'm expanding into a major AI firm whose expertise is to design programs specific for a problem that major programs don't solve. It's like they build a program around your problem. And and the level of anxiety and uncertainty is so great that they are hiring me now to be part of their offering package when they go to corporations, that they don't only solve their IT problems, but also the leadership problems.
Very cool.
That's the added value. They said that's something that is putting us on a different category. Then yes, I do Adam a lot in South America, and I do also here in the States. I love to travel. I love that adventure. Then I regret it because I love to go, I like to travel, and then once you're on the road and you're at night alone at the hotel, and
Yeah.
but I still love traveling and meeting new people and new cultures. I am from Argentina. Spanish is my first language. Then I like also keynote speaking. I do a fair amount of that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
As a rabbi, I was a speaker for 30 years, and I
Yeah.
was kind of good at it. Then for me, it's natural to stand in front of a crowd and deliver a compelling message. I love that.
Well, we're running out of time here, and so I just want to ask you if somebody wants to reach out to you, somebody wants to get in contact with you to come and do some work or whatever it may be for reasons. Uh, how would they do that? I
Well,
guess.
the first thing I want to tell everybody, I was not going to leave this conversation without giving the people the way to know the top 5 strengths.
Oh,
Okay, we need to reduce the 70%. And I'm going to make it so easy for everybody. Then everybody listening, just grab your smartphone.
Got it.
Okay, give you a second to do that. Go, go to your texts section, text application,
There we go.
and type the word positive, okay, and text it to 33777. As simple as that. Text positive to 33777, and you will get a chart with the 24 strengths of positive psychology. 3 questions that are going to help you choose your top strengths, and exercises of how to move them from knowing to applying and get 18 times more flourishing. You get
I
that,
love it. Just so you know, I did it.
Yep, I'm
So
doing it.
and
yeah.
There is also a calendar there. And I offer people who want to go deeper a 30 minutes complimentary meeting, no strings attached. Okay, I want to know how people reacted when they know the top 5 strengths. Really, I live for this. Then for those who want to do that,
So
I don't use.
just to reiterate, it's text the word positive to 33777.
Yes, I don't have a website because I believe that websites, in my case, prevent you from meeting people. Then people who want to do who want something else, they can connect with me at LinkedIn. Alfredo Borodowski. I am a LinkedIn every minute person. I will connect, answer questions, develop a relationship. I am writing a book, guys, by the way. It's called The Human Upgrade.
Love it. The human upgrade.
Oh, nice.
The Human Upgrade, and it's a lead, the new leadership on the age of AI. It's exactly what we are talking about, positive psychology strategies for the new era of the AI. And I explain everything there with psychological capital, strength, and not only I have, every chapter has an explanation and case studies. Every chapter at the end has workshops that managers and leaders can apply at their workplace to implement all these ideas.
Beautiful, my friend. That is fantastic. And so everyone's gonna have to pick up a copy of that book.
Okay. Nice.
Especially because it sounded like we probably touch on a few things between my book and your book. And it's not because we were sitting next to each other at book camp. We were not cheating, I promise. But great conversations came from that. And you touched on one thing when it came to the mindset. We don't have to fix everything, and we come from an industry where that's exactly where we came from. So it literally called break fix. So we waited until computers were broken until we went out and fixed them. And now that makes no sense. And just like, going into positive psychology and that aspect of it, there are some things that just don't make sense anymore once you know and you bring that awareness up to the conscious level. And so I'm excited to find out what my strengths are, what Adam's strengths are as well. And everyone that's listening also got to find that. So find out those strengths.
Thanks for joining us today on Tech Ties and Human Vibes. If you'd like to keep the conversation going, exclusive tips from our speakers, and more, head over to the community at sibylcommunity.com.